real, because keeping it real is such a bore. If keeping it real makes me sound like you, then what would I want to keep it real for?
When I originally put this channel together, the idea was that I would mostly talk about games. I am, after all, a game designer and a games master of many years' experience, and I was hoping I could use it to talk about some of that. But there's always something else. There's always politics or controversy or some threat to gaming that I feel needs addressing, which means I spend less and less time talking about the things that I actually care about, and more time trying to defend the things that I care about, and that's not necessarily good. So every so often you have to remind yourself what you love and why you love it. So why is there no video on this video? Because I want to talk about using your voice as a games master and how you can use your voice and your words to improve the experience and to create certain experiences, to enhance your games. Lots of people have problems with this because they feel silly putting on accents, but there's all kinds of tricks and things you can do beyond voicing the non-player characters. All kinds of stuff you can do. So here's some things that I try to do in my games when I can. You can't always use them, but you may find some of them a bit useful. The first thing that I think is important is to develop a kind of narrator voice. Maybe something like what I'm doing now. It's a more kind of neutral tone that you use when describing things. So you might go with, you enter the chamber. It's stone, grey, barely lit. A few fragments of light come through the cracks and chinks in the old stonework where the mortar has fallen away. There's a door on the other side hanging slightly open, the wood rotten and kind of slumped within its iron bounds. You can use the speed of your voice to effect as well. If it's an action scene or there's some danger, you can speed up your voice to create that sense of urgency. And when you want things to be more contemplative, you can slow your voice down, maybe lower the register slightly to create that more serene, thoughtful, slower sensation. For example, slits in the walls open up and gigantic, glittering axes swing out, swaying back and forth. There doesn't seem to be any rhyme, reason, or timing to the way that they're swinging, but if you're going to get down this corridor and the wall is closing in behind you, you're going to have to move quickly. Or the clearing in the forest is honeyed in the way that the light shines through the autumn leaves. In the beams that those form, you can see the dust motes and tree dust or pollen floating back and forth, creating walls and swirls. Water trickles in a tiny brook from one end of the clearing to the other, running down from rock to rock, each covered in thick moss. Amongst it all, on a stone throne, sits a man, encased in vines and leaves and roots. His eyes crackle as they open, and he fixes you with his slow, lazy gaze, and says nothing. You can create a sense of intimacy and draw people in if you just lower your voice slightly and speak more slowly, more softly, more quietly. You can cause people around the table to lean in and listen. And then you can use that to effect with the kind of auditory equivalent of a jump scare, if you want to make that kind of impact. Another way to create an atmosphere of horror is to use fear by letting it enter into your own voice. The people around the table have to listen to you, and most people cannot help but empathize and pick up on the emotions of others. So if you want to create fear, then let fear into your own voice. Maybe speak quickly and in short bursts, and maybe do double takes and repeat yourself, and perhaps stutter, and then be more breathless and pant, and just let that note of fear and enter your voice, and they will be brought along with you. They can't really help themselves. That's how people work. There's even simpler tricks. If you want to create a more jovial atmosphere, then smile when you're saying things, because even if you can't see someone's face, I mean, even listening now, you should be able to tell that I'm smiling, and it creates that happier feel. So if you're talking about a revel or a fair or a festival in a village, then smile, bob your head around a lot, you know, let it into your voice. Equally, if you're talking about something sad, then just be sad. Put that expression on your face. They'll pick up on that, but they'll also pick up on that in your voice. So if you're describing a funeral or the aftermath of a battle where there are bodies strewn around and some great loss has happened, then just let that show in your expression and your voice will tend to follow. Voicing NPCs is trickier because as the games master you'll have to voice all the NPCs. You will have to voice both genders, you'll have to voice different cultures, languages, everything. In fantasy and science fiction this isn't necessarily so bad, but in modern games when you're trying to represent different cultures, different countries, it's easy to slip into stereotype. Now this isn't necessarily bad per se, so long as, you know, you're not being a bad person, you're not taking the piss, you're just trying to provide cues. So stereotypes are useful in that sense. A possible way around that is to think about a celebrity of the appropriate culture or demographic and then just try to speak like them. You don't have to put on a silly accent either. You can just signify characters with different turns of phrase. So if you're talking about some country bumpkin, you don't have to go full, "Ooh, ar, hello, mister, how you bein'? Well, here there's orcs up in that there tower." You don't have to go the full thing. You can just use the little turns of phrase like "ay up." You don't have to do the full thing. You know, you can just put in an R or turns of phrase. Like a peasant might refer to things like "when the cows come home," or, you know, that sort of thing. Use farmyard analogies or sayings. That anyway, just a few ideas on how you can use your voice. I hope you find them useful. I hope they improve your games. I would like to do more stuff on gaming, about my design process or the art of games mastery or anything else anyone would like me to talk about. So if you can think of anything you'd like to hear my opinion on, then just ask. Take care, guys. Have a good day. Have fun at your tables. If you like what I do here, please like, subscribe. You can find me on social media, on Twitter at Grimachu, James Desborough on Facebook, James Grim Desborough on G+. My main website is postmortemstudios.wordpress.com. If you want to help me out with a little money, which will go to support my games, writing and other projects, you can do so at Patreon, which is also Grimachu.